guys. Can everybody hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry. Can everybody hear me and see my screen?
Yes.
Amazing. So the maternal history for this case, this lady is a gravida 1 para-naught, BMI of 26, low risk at booking. She had a high risk trisomy 21 screen, 1 in 80 on her nuchal ultrasound, but her NIPT found her to be low risk. She had a fetal cardiology scan at St George's at roughly 30 weeks, which found mild right-left asymmetry of the cardiac chambers. She had continual glucosuria throughout the entire pregnancy, but her GTT were normal, and she was sent home with home monitoring, and they were both normal. So never had any BMs that were out of range. And then she had an ultrasound scan at 34 weeks. Found mild polyhydramnios with the deepest pool being 8 centimeters, normal Dopplers, but short femurs in this baby as well. So she came into triage at 40 plus 6. She came in contracting what she reported as 3 and 10. And at 1840, she was found to be 6 centimeters dilated, so was transferred over to our labour ward. So baseline here, for this CTG, we're looking at sort of 130. Everybody happy that this is normal?
Yes.
Amazing. And this is just the second segment of it. So the CTG was, she was then transferred over to labour ward, and this was the first segment of the trace on labour ward. This one's quite a quick review tonight, guys. I just thought the outcome was very interesting. So yeah, let me know your thoughts when we do get to the end, and I've got some really good cases coming up that I've prepared for everybody today. So this one's a reasonably quick one, but yeah, just got an interesting one. So yeah, the CTG here is commenced at 1930. Happy with this segment? I'll assume yes. Good baseline, normal baseline, good variability. Did I mention the fact that she's 40 plus 6? I think I did. Okay, so we'll move on. So next segment here at 2100, the midwife reports variable decelerations, and as you can see, observations normal, blood pressure of 122/77, pulse 87, rest rate of 17, SATs of 98%, and temperature of 36.6. Do we agree with the classification of these decelerations?
So which one they mean by variable deceleration? Is it the earlier ones or the middle section or the last ones?
So all of them were reported as variable.
Okay. Yeah. Mm.
Do you agree, Mr. Naguib?
I would say variable doesn't fit with our thinking of baroreceptor, chemoreceptor, but in the terms of variable, they are variable. But I mean, yeah. But I would have said the first two, like in the section number maybe 3 of the CTG, they are more of a baroreceptor.
Yeah.
Then in the section number 4, there is subtle chemo, and then in the third, in the last section, there is more of a baro again. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So we'll move on. This is the next segment. So she went out to the toilet here at about 9:10. And then I think due to frequency of contractions, she was re-examined at 21:45. Cervix was found to be 6 centimeters dilated, fully effaced. Presenting part was -2, and this baby's position was ROP. So again, very, very similar to the previous segment. We'll move on. At 22:13, the epidural was sighted. So from about 21:50, this lady's been set up ready for her epidural. And at 22:30, so just at the very end of the segment here, the test dose was given. I say this on the majority of the cases that we do review, that the importance of making sure we're picking up fetal heart rate when we're sighting an epidural is imperative. This is something that I see on almost a weekly, if not daily basis, where we're picking up what appears to be maternal heart rate when women are upright for their epidural. So please, just as a key message, we need to make sure that we are listening to our fetal heart rate. And also, I think if we go back, our previous maternal pulse was sort of 87, and here the CTG monitoring is floating above that. It could be pain related, but we've got not really any way of determining whether or not this is maternal pulse, just due to the fact that we've not got the pulse oximeter on. So if you are having difficulty when sighting an epidural in maintaining fetal heart rate, please, please, please do make sure that maternal pulse is being recorded on the monitor so that we can differentiate what is maternal and what is fetal. Because yeah, as you can see, this is an impossible sort of part of the trace that we can actually analyze. Does anybody have any comments on this bit?
Yeah, I agree with you, Cara. It is undefensible because this is nearly 1, 2, 3. This is nearly 30 minutes, of no trace. Yeah.
And also, this could very easily be considered decelerations. Although we cannot take the fact that these things are audible when we are using the monitors, although we can't always determine, a lot of women and a lot of midwives, always document whether or not they can audibly hear the fetal heart rate, because I know we get multiple episodes of loss of contact for numerous different reasons. But when our epidurals are sighted, it's even more important that we are picking up fetal heart rate. And yeah, just I do see this on a very, very regular basis. So we please do need to make sure that we're doing our best to get this contact. Okay, so we'll move on. So at 22:30, there's your observations. Blood pressure 121/71. Pulse is now 90. Respiratory rate 17. SATs of 98% and temperature of 36.6.
Sorry,
Oh.
I couldn't find anything on the web.
Sorry. At 2300, she's sorry. Go on, Nikki.
Sorry, Cara. If you go on the previous slide, please, at the end of it, it started to have again decreased, or I mean, maybe decreased variability and some chemoreceptor there. And I think the baseline, if I don't know, I feel like it has risen. I don't know, it's my perception, or maybe it is. It was 140 when we started. Now is 155.
Yeah, so arguably 130 actually, Naguib. If you look back to the first CTG here.
Yeah, so 135, 140. Yeah. So we are now 155, coming to 160. Yeah.
Do any of our midwives want to classify this CTG at the moment? I don't know who's on the call, so I can't even pick names. Okay, so Naguib, tell me if you agree or disagree, but the fact that we've now got reduced variability at the end of the trace, and the fact that we're now possibly having some chemoreceptor decelerations, as well as that rise in baseline, are we considering this suspicious at the moment under our FIGO guidance?
Yeah. Especially that we are only 20 minutes, not more. But yeah, I mean, suspicious is right here. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I wanted to ask there's been obviously lots of people have had there's been numerous occasions where the membrane sac tends to come out of the vagina obviously before the head. This can be in the first stage, this can be in the second stage. But an ARM was performed on this lady due to the membrane sac coming out of the vagina. Naguib, do you have any sort of guidance or evidence for this? Because it's not something that I've sort of looked into very much as to whether or not it should just be left alone or whether or not we should be.
Yeah. So to be honest with you, I had a chat last week during my on call with some of our midwives and about the intact membrane policy of labor, and I was told that in birthing center, everybody is left with the intact membrane, even with pushing. And I am about to look into the evidence into that because you know, I don't have any problem with it really, but I don't understand the physics behind it. When if for example I am uh, having the analogy of of like all of us in a pool of water or whatever, you cannot go below till the water is broken. I don't know, but I need to look at it evidence based, medically speaking, about pushing with intact membranes. For me, I will be honest with you, and I think maybe it will apply to most obstetrician. Whenever I am pushing and the membranes are intact, I will break them. And I know my colleague midwives, especially the birthing center, have an opposite opinion. So, what I'm going to look into is the evidence behind leaving the membrane while pushing, at least. And then I will update you on the next CTG.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I'd ask that one because there's it's not something that I've particularly read into much, but also yeah, this happens. Obviously, that does happen a lot on birth centre. It's something that I experience quite a lot on birth centre. But yeah, from a labour ward perspective, obviously the majority of the time women are there for induction or for ARM for whatever reason or failure to progress, whereas on the birth centre it's a very different story. Perfect. So we'll move on to the next slide. The note that you see there about 2255 says maternal pulse. So I'm under the impression that this midwife had was either palpating or had the pulse oximeter from the Dynamap on the woman at this point. But obviously, as you can see, this can be very, very easily mistaken for decelerations, considering if you look at at 2310, when that baseline starts to drop down and that deceleration occurs, it looks very, very similar to those that are recorded as maternal pulse slightly earlier in the trace. At 2300, she's reported to be contracting 4 in 10. I think they had some issues with this TOCO, which is why it's not necessarily picking up our contractions as well. But good resting tone was mentioned in the documentation, just due to the fact that there was lots of episodes of loss of contact, and those sort of decelerations are not quite as easily identified. An FSE was placed by the midwife in charge at the very, very end of this trace at 2313. And the woman was found to be fully dilated. With the plan with the obstetric registrar being for 2 hours of passive descent due to the fact that this baby was OP. So to give this woman more of a chance for the baby to rotate with the contractions, but also to just come down further. I don't think the station was actually mentioned as part of this examination in the notes. Anybody have any comments, any other plans, any alternatives?
I wouldn't be personally happy for all this time with the decreased variability in front of me here. And I can't see any cycling. I can't see any active like uh, signs that the baby's neurological is intact. So I would be more of a vigilant for myself, really. I would have loved to know where is the station, How is she deliverable in the room? She's not. I mean, lots of things that I would have wanted to know.
Yeah, absolutely. I should have mentioned that at 23:10, this lady was also moved to left lateral to help with the decelerations. Does anybody want to classify these decelerations? Any of the midwives that are on the call? Nagib, you might have to pick on someone because I can't see who's actually here.
Okay, you have with us, you have Eleanor, Jeanne d'Arc, Chevs, Charlotte, Faye. These are the ones on the in front of me. So then to
Eleanor?
pick.
Sorry, I'm just at the airport and I'm going through security control. I don't think I'm meant to be on my phone.
Oh,
Okay, Charlotte then. That's dedication though, Ellie. Thank you.
Charlotte has put her hand up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go for it.
No, I think muted. Yeah, she's still muted.
Shivs?
Hello.
Hello?
Hi, you're right. Sorry. You asked. What did you ask me? What the?
Just if you want to try and classify these decelerations.
So first of all, for me, what I find I don't feel like the decelerations are that clear because there's gaps in this CTG. It makes it quite hard. Like, I know they're evident and you can see them, but it's just. I'm just trying to zoom in. Sorry. As in, would we say chemo or barrow? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Chemo? Am I wrong?
No, I would agree with you here. The fact that although the one at the sort of 22:43 mark looks slightly more barrow just because it's slightly shorter lasting, and it does sort of recover within that minute. The one at the end, I think this is the main reason they put the FSC on, was due to the fact that there's so much loss of contact. But definitely the one at the end I would consider more baroreceptor because it's trying to come up and it's also taking a longer time to return to the baseline. Mr. Geeb, I don't know if you would agree.
I feel both of them. To be honest with you, Kara is chemo, because they are slow to come. Baby is baby. So the fact that the coming up and down is that the baby is trying to fight back rather than anything, but it is more chemo. Both of them.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. We'll move on to the next segment here. So another sort of chemoreceptor deceleration here, as you can see, at 23:23. This one takes longer to go down as well, and again longer to recover. At just at the very end of the trace here, and just due to I think the decelerations, the registrar wanted to confirm the position of this baby in order to determine sort of mode of delivery and whatnot, if that was necessary. And the registrar confirmed that this baby was direct to OP, but well into the pelvis. I don't know if they I don't think they classified a station at this point, but due to the fact that there was they allowing 2 hours for sort of passive descent, it's my understanding that that's normally done when the station's quite a lot higher, so above spines, if not at spines, to try and make sure that this baby's given enough time to come down. And also, as we can sort of see here, you know, we're now contracting about 5 in 10. So just something to keep an eye on as the sort of next segment. Does anybody want to comment on this segment at all?
I feel I am more reassured in this segment than the previous. Variability started to pick up slightly, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I
definitely.
would be happy. I would be happy to continue passive at this point. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Perfect. So moving on to the next segment. This lady's been put into the throne position to sort of aid with the descent at 10 past midnight. And then as you can see, the variability is still good there. We're getting some accelerations as well, but possibly one with the contraction in this case, or two with the contractions, or maybe a few more with the contractions. And then it looks like our baseline might be starting to rise up again towards the end of this this part of the trace as well. We'll move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Mr. Naguib, is there anything you wanted to say about this?
No, it looks good to me. Yeah. I again, baby is telling me I am okay at the moment. I don't have any rush to be delivered. It's fine.
Perfect. So yeah, and then again, this part of the trace really surprised me, just because it looks really good in comparison to into what we've had previously. So this baby clearly likes being fully dilated and sort of sat in the pelvis. Blood pressure, as you can see, 120/70, pulse of 78, respiratory rate of 16, and SATs of 98%. But yeah, good variability here. The baseline is nice and stable the way it was at the very beginning, and we are getting some accelerations as well. And then at the very, very end of this part, active pushing is commenced at 01:30. And then this is what happens. This baby maybe likes being fully dilated, but doesn't quite like the process of pushing. So this was the first sort of 20 minutes of pushing here. And then at 01:50, the decision was made for a trial of instrumental. And it was noted that this woman's urine output was less than 20 mils over the last 4 hours. And fluids, I believe, were running at, I think, 250 mils per hour at this point. So this lady has had maybe a litre, if not just under, of Hartmann's and less than 20 mils of urine output. So at 01:55, she was prepared for theatre, and pre-meds were given. In terms of hypoxia, what's this baby now telling us?
You mean which type of hypoxia, or you mean telling us whether he is happy or not?
Both, either or.
So evolving hypoxia, definitely. And then he or she wants to come out. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's not really enough of the trace here where she was pushing before it was stopped. But if we would have continued, then there's a question that we would have developed into subacute hypoxia, which is not uncommon in the second stage. But does anybody have any strategies that they would maybe use if this baby was significantly showing a subacute hypoxia in the second stage of labour? They're
I
pushing
would
with
stop.
every other sorry, go on, Mr. Naguib.
Yeah, I would
Oh,
stop pushing. And if deliverable in the room, I would deliver. If not deliverable in the room, I would stop pushing till I go to theater. And yeah. And if she didn't have spinal or epidural and I want to do a trial, I might give terbutaline, relax the baby till I go to theater, even if in theater I reinitiate syntocinon.
Perfect. Just wanted to point out that at 01:40, as you can see, there is a slightly larger gap from what we can see on the TOCO, where baby does return to baseline, whereas the more sort of prominent decelerations look like they are during these contractions. So that does kind of indicate that this baby is responding to the stress of the pushing, because obviously we would get these women to push with the contractions. So just wanted to point out that another sort of strategy, if you wanted to, depending on the situation, would be to push with it maybe every other contraction to ensure this baby is getting time to rest in between. We know that this lady's been having sort of 4 to 5 contractions in 10 minutes for quite a long period of time. So we know that she's contracting well. There's no Synto involved, so we can't necessarily stop that to help give the baby a rest, but we can see that there are elements of returning to baseline at the same time that she's not pushing. So maybe pushing with every other contraction might be beneficial to this baby. Specifically as when they've decided to go for trial, she's obviously stopped pushing and this baby has sort of returned to a normal baseline, although slightly raised. Yeah. So this is the theatre CTG now. They've
Sorry,
obviously
she's got a
Go on.
catheter in, but she's got a catheter in, but sorry, I can't talk. Did they try and like reinsert it to see if it was working? Like,
Yeah,
how it is.
yeah, they
Yeah.
did.
Oh, okay.
When it was sort of noted, it was adjusted, but no further urine output.
Right, thank you.
After she delivered though, Ellie, I think there was about 700 meals.
Thank you.
So it's a possibility that the bladder may not have been helping matters, but yeah. So this is our theatre trace now. So she came in around 02:10. By the time the spinal was sighted, sort of topped up, if you like, and first pull was undertaken. Sorry, I've not put there. First pull was with the Kiwi at 02:32. So 3 pulls on the Kiwi, although it is documented, the obstetrician's written half a pull with the second pull on the Kiwi, just due to a different for a specific reason. And then forceps were applied and locked at 02:40. First pull at 02:44 with an episiotomy, and at 02:49 second pull, which resulted in head and delivery of the baby. Does anybody want to comment on this CTG? Obviously, we've got the FSC has been detached for the delivery, and obviously we've moved to abdominal monitoring, but does anybody want to comment on this one?
The only comment, it is a dreadful CTG that cannot be assessed or defended in court. That's it.
Absolutely. Does anyone want to guess the APGARs and the gases? I'm going to ask everyone I know that's on the call, if no one shouts out.
Oh, only because last time we ended up being surprised, but I'm just going to go 9, 10, 10.
9, 10, 10. And gases?
I'm going to say normal.
Normal?
Yeah.
I would say 7.1 and 7.0 something, with APGARs of 5, then 5, 9, and 9. Yeah.
What makes you say so much lower, Mr. Naguib?
I feel that I will treat this last 1, 2, 3. I feel like I'm going to treat it as a prolonged deceleration rather than baby is fighting to come up and then going down. Baby is fighting to come up and then coming down. It is, the baby is really, I personally feel the baby is telling me I'm struggling so much to be waiting 40 minutes to yeah. I feel this one is baby is struggling. Yeah.
Perfect. Shibs?
Hi. Yeah, I agree with
what Naguib said. I don't think that it will have normal gases. I'm gonna go. I won't go 6.9, but I definitely think we'll be on the lower end of 7. So I think an arterial would be about 7.0. Maybe, yeah, maybe a venous might be 7.1. I don't know, but I don't think they'll be normal because I don't even know what the baseline is at this point. You can see a little bit at the beginning, but after that, Naguib's right. You know, you've got a good 30 minutes for sure of not really knowing what is going on. Plus, you're also doing an instrumental delivery, so you're applying pressure. But yeah.
Thank you. Faye?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. I don't think the gases are going to be normal. I think they are going to be a bit on the lower side. However, I believe that the APGARs will probably be like about 8, 9, and 9 or something.
Thank you. Who else was on here, Mr. Naguib?
Sorry, Cara, I didn't actually comment on the APGARs, seeing as no one said anything else just yet. I think the APGARs would be like 6 and 8. And I've got a feeling like maybe the baby might have got admitted, like RDS, maybe.
What makes you think that?
Sorry, I'm in the bath, guys. I just made the water go. I don't know. It's just giving me the vibe. I can't be specific. I just feel like that is a long time of struggling. I just feel like the baby's a little bit compromised here. Yeah.
Perfect.
Kara, on the line, there is Mr. Ganjiwar and Charlotte Faye. Yes, that's it.
Mr. Ganjiwar, do you want to comment?
Hello.
Hi.
Yes. I think the gases might be borderline, particularly it's evolving hypoxia, and the Apgars might be probably 6, 7, and 6, 7, and 9.
Perfect. So I'll put you all out of your misery. Here. So this baby was born at 3 kilos and 30 grams. APGARs were 4, 5, and 6. And Naguib and Shivshi pretty much hit the nail on the head here. Arterial pH of 7.10. Base excess minus 13.5, lactate 7.6, and then venous pH of 7.17, base excess of minus 13.6, and lactate of 6.6. I'm pretty sure these were from the same vessel. But yeah, and you were right, Shivs, this baby was admitted for some respiratory distress to SCABU following. Anybody surprised by the outcome?
No. And this is really highlights that one of the most important parts, which is relaxing the baby till you pull it out. Sometimes people are very reluctant to use terbutaline, but I mean, what is the most dramatic story? You will relax the baby, let the anesthetist have his spinal or whatever, and then you can start Cento. And if you start it in the second stage or start it at this point, you don't start it from 3, you start it from 12. You can start and you up it quickly to 24 and so on. So you don't become afraid of using terbutaline, relaxing, giving the baby a breather so the baby doesn't struggle, especially as Shiv said, instrumental on its own is slightly traumatic to the baby. So relax the baby if you want. especially if you are going for a trial. This is one of the things. Otherwise, you will rush for a hasted trial or pulling, and then you will end up with also third-degree tears and so on.